Hey, welcome back to Bible and Blues. It is Eclipse Day. It is Monday, the 21st. I have mine. Do you have yours? Traffic is horrible. There's some construction going on that wasn't a problem last week, but apparently they changed it, put out some stop signs, blocked out the whole road, and now there's little to no chance of me getting to my parking lot to do this in time. But because of this, I want to keep it kind of related to what's going on today. It's Eclipse Monday. It's really cool. Okay. And so I'm doing it while I'm driving, so I'm mostly have stopped, so I've got plenty of time. So anyway, but I'm going to get to work with maybe 10 minutes to spare. That's not enough time to make a video. Anyway, something unusual happened on my Facebook, and I discussed it before. I have some atheist friends on Facebook, and they are. Atheists post the most outrageous things. All right, they really do. And this guy did. And really, what it is doesn't matter that much. He's, not a bad guy. I don't really know him. I mean, we're Facebook friends, and that is the extent of it. We've never met face to face, and he doesn't like it when I hop on and call out his garbage on his wall. That he posts. So mostly I just leave him alone. I've done it once or twice, and it's like, he did kind of call me out because I thought he had friend requested me, and it turns out I friend requested him. So yeah, it has to do with music and guitars, and that's why we're here. So anyway, long story short. So, but he posted some, asinine thing, and one of his friends, and I've never seen it, I've heard of it before. It was the first time I've seen it, actually posted that Jesus was not even a historical figure, and that he was made up around 300 AD. Okay, and I was just like, I was flabbergasted because this is like one of the worst. I think it's got to be the worst current atheist argument out there, and the reason it's so bad. Roto tracks. The reason it's so bad is that modern historians, scholars, PhDs, now fully accept that Jesus lived. I mean, these are actual PhD historians, not just some, not necessarily New Testament historians, and not Christian historians, atheist and agnostic historians. They're not saying that he was resurrected off of this, okay, and based on this. So, big bump. So, these are the things, and so I was flabbergasted. I really was, because one of the things I've been doing, and it has to do with like the book that I've been reading. That sorry, I haven't picked it up in over a week. I'll tell you why in a minute. But. That's why I don't like doing it while driving. It bounces all over the place. One of the things that I've been studying is just actually the historical Jesus. What are the historical arguments for or against? And one of the people I've been listening to, among others, is Gary Habermas. Gary Habermas is a PhD New Testament historian. And he gives a very good defense on the historical Jesus, on Jesus actually being a person in history, and and the thing is that it's true. I mean, and I was listening to, I watched it was a podcast that was put up, and it's an atheist guy, and I wish I could remember his name, but it's been like a month, and the atheist podcaster was interviewing a historian, and the atheist tried to use that line that there was no historical Jesus, there was no proof of it, and the historian was like, listen, I'm not a believer. He didn't claim to believe in Jesus, didn't claim to be a Christian, and said straight up, I'm agnostic. I don't necessarily believe that he was. I don't believe that he was resurrected, but it is accepted. You will not find a historian, a scholar historian, with that will tell you that there was no historic Jesus. Okay, to state that is to be in denial of mainstream historians and the concepts. I mean, if you want to claim, all the other stuff, that he wasn't resurrected and tried to deny the miracles and all that. You can have a basis in that with him. That there was a historical Jesus. And I'm going to bring up a couple of things. I'm actually made it through the draft pretty good here. A couple of things that have been brought up. Among other things, the writings of Paul. There's actually several of them that historians truly feel are completely worthy as historical writings. Romans, Corinthians 1 and 2, Galatians, Thessalonians 1, and Philippians. Okay, and I'm sure I'm pronouncing that wrong. But my atheist friends can tell me exactly how wrong I am about that. So, to have such, you want to talk about a logical fallacy, because that's one of the atheist' favorite phrases. It's a logical fallacy to claim that there was no historical Jesus at that time who, was crucified and died on the cross. That's a logical fallacy. That's a 100% logical fallacy. So maybe I'll title this that a logical fallacy of atheists, because it seems like the only time that I get you guys to actually pay attention to something is if I try to crack on you. So that's like, why do you put that up there? Because you won't even look at it otherwise. Okay. So anyway, so these are some of the things that people. It's like this debate rages on. That's fine. We can debate the resurrection. We can, and I can use. Fortunately, I can use things like the writings of Paul, because historians agree on Paul's writings. They consider him a good historian. Okay, and so since they consider Paul a good historian, I get to use him in my debates with you as atheists. And then there's writings of Josephus, who was a Jewish and a bit of a, he wasn't really a great guy, but he was a historian. And then there was Tacitus, okay, as another one who backs up the claims that Jesus existed and was crucified, and that the Christians claim he was resurrected. Okay, so these are people, backing up Paul's story, and in among the writings of Paul that are considered true and accurate, in Galatians, Paul actually states, I went back and spoke with Peter and James, brother of Jesus, and to make sure I had not been running my race in vain. To make sure, and in other words, to make sure we were all on the same page. And they were. They were telling the same story. They were telling the same thing, giving the same gospel, giving the same truth and the same hope as Peter. Peter, who was considered the number one apostle, the rock upon which the church was built, the Catholic Church. Okay, as a Protestant, I'm leaning more towards a Pauline view, but that doesn't mean I disregard or ignore, Peter. So these are some of the things that are out there, and so this debate rages on. But the fact that there's still people out there, and this is an argument that atheists have. They actually claim that there was no historical Jesus. And I hope that you can at least admit that there was a historical Jesus. To go from a historical Jesus to a resurrected Jesus, I understand why you might stumble on that. And that's a debate to have. And that's an argument to have. And that would require you to listen to me and step out of your rigid beliefs that you have as an atheist. Okay? Rigid being this couldn't possibly happen. Well, if it happened all the time, it wouldn't be a miracle. If it would be a common thing. If people rose up from the dead all over the place, you'd have, the Walking Dead episode. So, but the debate can be had. But and the good news is that I hope I've established that I get to use several of the writings of Paul as accepted scholarship, okay, as accepted writings, accepted by historians, both agnostics and atheists, okay, as much of them contemporary to within a finite period. The oldest writing of the Gospel of Mark of the four Gospels, the oldest possible one, is accepted by scholars that it was written right around 60 years after the death of Jesus. Okay, and so that's actually pretty darn close historically speaking. We don't have that good of writings on Tiberius Caesar, okay, who was the emperor or the ruler of Rome at the time Jesus was there. We don't have that good of scholarship, and with the writings of Paul, combined with the writings of Paul, Alexander the Great, the earliest writings that we have speaking on the life of Alexander the Great is over 300 years after Alexander the Great lived. Okay, granted, I will tell you straight up, that's probably because the Library of Alexander burned down. There was probably all kinds of... However, you don't have it, okay? But we fully accept that Alexander the Great lived. Okay, so saying that he lived is not hard. It's not out of the realm of possibility. And I know I'm kind of going over and over and over this again, but that's because my atheist friends who just don't want to accept this. You need to do some research on this kind of concept. Now, I need to do a better job of at least taking notes. I'm gonna post this while I'm at work to make it contemporary with the day of the eclipse, because it is important. It's an important event, and I have my eclipse glasses. Okay, so I picked them up about 2 weeks ago, and I got a set for me because I'm just going to be at work. My wife, because she's going to be at her day health program because she's a stroke victim. And my son, who isn't back in school yet, because here in this region, we don't go back to school till next week. So, we have ours. That's kind of cool, isn't it? So, and I did look at the sun with them. I would put them on. Yes, they look like the old school 3D glasses. I put them on. I did look at the sun, and it definitely, you can look directly at the sun this morning with this. And we are blessed. We have a beautiful blue sky, not a cloud in it. And so I'm hoping for some pretty good viewing. We're supposed to receive, it's supposed to have a 92% blockage where I'm at, and which is pretty darn good. Yes, Portland south of us, 160 miles south of us, the Oregon area, the coastline. That place is a nut house right now. I got to call up my buddy Paul just to find out where things are at down there. So he'll let me know how bad it is down there. Yeah, so if you didn't get a set like 2 weeks ago, like I did, I got 3 sets 2 weeks ago. I actually wish I would have gotten a bunch of them so I could hand them out to my coworkers. However, those of us who did get them could probably share them a little bit. But I hope you got a set. If not, I heard about some ways of using your selfie camera on your phone to because the phone will control the light and reduce the light so that it's the exposure. Okay, digitally adjust that depending on what kind of phone you have. So I've heard that's a way to do it. Good luck. Eclipse is in less than 2 hours, and it's just after. So I'm hoping my boss is going to let me take the time off. I'm hoping the phones calm down for during that time. It should just die off during that. So anyway, so have a great day. God bless. If you have any questions about what I said, look up Gary Habermas. He's one of the ones that's kind of leading me in my education on this. There are some others that talk in these terms, but I like to pay attention to historians, PhDs, and listen to what they have to say. Yes, I listen to ones that are on my side. Why? Because if I listen to ones that are on the other side, of course, they're going to give a completely different point of view. So, but he listens to people who are and talks to them. There's other subjects we'll talk about later, and I got to get going. You have a great day. God bless.